Imagine that you have a dog. You take your dog to the vet, who then weighs your dog and pulls up a weight chart for horses. The vet says, "According to my weight chart for horses, your dog is severely underweight." We all recognize the absurdity of comparing the performance of one group, dogs, to the criteria set for another group, horses. A similar absurdity exists in the way we assess for bilingual stuttering today. Let me explain. Stuttering is a speech disorder made up of disfluencies, which we can think of as bumps in our speech. These bumps can be things like unintentionally repeating a sound or a word. Bumpy speech can happen in any language. In English, it could sound something like, is this stuttering? While all people have some bumpy speech, if someone were to have a lot of bumpy speech, they would be more likely diagnosed with stuttering. Clinicians traditionally use the 3% rule. If more than 3% of speech is considered bumpy, then a diagnosis of stuttering is usually given. However, this rule was created from data taken from monolingual children who only speak one language. Does this rule then hold up for bilingual children? That's what my research focused on. I looked at existing data and found that bilingual children have different patterns of bumpy speech that do not conform to the 3% rule found in monolinguals. If we were to use the 3% rule to assess for stuttering in bilingual children, we could end up giving incorrect diagnoses. We could send a child to therapy for a disorder that they don't even have. This would result in a needlessly devastating experience. What do we then do with all of this information? For clinicians, this research advises pushing away from the 3% rule when assessing bilingual children. Instead, clinicians can take advantage of other resources, like questionnaires. For parents of young children who are bilingual, remember, bilingualism is wonderful, and your child may have more or less bumpy speech compared to their monolingual friends. And that's okay. For all of us, remember, just as it is absurd to compare dogs to horses, so it is absurd to assess bilingual children with criteria set for monolingual children. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the little comparison you did with dogs and horses. Probably brought the research home. Did you learn any other interesting little communication techniques throughout the process of preparing for this?
As far as communication as itself, or communicating my topic
just communicating
to
your speech, maybe something you learned from Amy.
I think this experience taught me how to take something very clinical, very research focused, and translate it to something that is accessible for the general audience. And as someone who's going into healthcare and future clinician, it's really important for me to take something that is very, that's full of jargon and translate it into something that's accessible. So I really appreciated this opportunity.
Oh yeah, and one of the best ways to do it is analogy, and you did it flawlessly, so great job.
Thank you.